And as you do come to a comfortable seat, one of the super helpful things to realize is the level of your seat often affects how your low back feels and how easy it is to use the strength of your back muscles to sit tall well. So play around with how high you're sitting. And I'm actually going to do what I did yesterday and grab something bigger to sit on. And with this, I'm sitting on my knees. So shift it and find a comfortable but strong position for yourself. And now as you let your hands rest down and let your eyes close, take a couple moments to tune into an even and full breath, moving in and out of your body. We're focusing on this idea of setting intentions this week. And so today we're going to focus on the intention of inner peace. As we bring and invite this idea of peace and this concept of peace into our bodies and into our minds, we also get to start to recognize that any of these heart-centered intentions are things that we can always tap into. They're always there for us. So as you sit here, if you'd like to add the inner peace mudra, you're welcome to. So this is a mudra that's commonly used for this intention. Left hand is palm up in your lap, right hand palm up over it, and then connect the thumbs together. As you take a couple deep breaths here, if you'd like to tap into an affirmation, you're welcome to. The one I'm using is, I invite peace into all aspects of my life. I invite peace into all aspects of my life. With a couple more breaths, allow a little bit longer spine. And then switch to connecting hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. And then as we seal it in this intention of inner peace, use an exhale to help you bow, touching forehead to fingertips, full breath. Then as you softly open your eyes and release your hands down, bring hands up to your upper thighs. No matter how you're sitting, give a little press down if that's comfortable, and add a little bit more tilt forward with your belly, tilt forward with your pelvis, and lengthen your sides. Shoulder blades are on your back. And as you lengthen up through the back of your neck, take another couple of deep breaths and notice this length. And then walking your hands out as far as is comfortable. Start a little movement through your cat and cow here. Seated cat, cow, exhaling to press the spine back. Inhaling to draw belly and heart forward. And take this a couple more times, allowing yourself to notice and be aware of whatever sensations are present throughout your back body, or really anywhere in the body. One more big breath. Then as you inhale and sit tall, we're going to create a little tiny back bend action and then support the low back with some core activity. So hands in front to clasp. Turn your palms forward and press forward. And then draw in with your shoulder blades, draw them toward each other on your back, and then lift up with your arms. Your head is back in space. And as you lift up with your front ribs and allow for that little bit of a back bend here, now counteract that with some engagement through the core. So low belly and ribs engage. Take a full, big, deep breath. You can add little movements here side to side if that feels good, or just stay stationary, but press up again, lift up through your front. So you're adding that back bend action, but see if you can stay engaged through the core. Full, big, deep breath. Then inhale back up to center, release your hands. If you're sitting cross-legged, feel free to switch sides. And now move sitting bones and then reach arms out to the side. And as you turn palms open, think of turning them toward the walls on either side of you. Engage your shoulder blades and then re-engage especially the upper core. So take a big exhale to draw it in and then inhale to lift the collarbones and move them back. Head back in space. Now inhale, stretch arms up, take a hold of your right wrist, exhale over to the left side. And from this place, as you root down through both sitting bones, still allow your belly to tilt a little bit forward, but then with that tilt, see if you can engage the low belly. Draw it in. Engage the ribs, draw them in. And then inhale, expand and lift the chest just a little bit more, even with that core engagement. Next inhale, rise all the way back up, switch wrists, and exhale, side stretch over toward the right side. Rooting through both sitting bones, again, find that tilt of your belly forward and engage. Low belly, ribs, and then lift again. Chest lifts, heart lifts. Inhale, rise back up to center. Now hands come behind to clasp. And as you press palms together, lift shoulders up and back, hug elbows back, lengthen the back of your neck, and then think about your collarbones moving up and back. And now as you find that, this adds to a little bit of upper back bend, engage the low belly, engage the ribs, and then lift through the collarbones again. Take another big deep breath. Head in line with your spine as opposed to tilting back, chin tucks a little in. Inhale back up to center, go in the opposite direction, hands clasp, pull forward, round back, your chin tucks in, and then add a little bit of movement here side to side. Little side to side sway, letting you get a little further into some of the low back muscles, maybe the QLs, maybe those muscles right up against the spine, the erector spinae or spinae, depending on your pronunciation. Take a full couple of breaths. Then inhale, sit tall, and we're gonna shift forward onto hands and knees. And from hands and knees, we're gonna come down onto our bellies. So walk your knees back and lower all the way down. And now a little movement with breath here. First, root down through the tops of your feet, root down through your knees and engage the low belly. Take a big exhale and think of drawing ribs up. Inhale, shoulders up and back, starting to lift up into a baby cobra. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, rise back up, and exhale, lower back down. And we're going to go for about 5 more breaths. And as you inhale and lift up, notice the low belly engaging. Exhale, lower back down. Keep going with your breath. And as you find this opening through the chest, notice the back muscles that are working. And we'll come back to another variation of this later. 1 more breath. And now push all the way back into your child's pose. And in your child's pose, your choice, knees wide or narrow to settle, hips back, head down. Take a couple big breaths and you can always settle your head on something here. Take a few breaths and allow some movement through the hips, maybe some movement through the arms, and then settle into a little more stillness. As you let your forehead press, you can come back to that idea of inviting inner peace right now. And peace can be invited in even as we do work, or even as things are challenging. So remind yourself of this right now. And then inhale, rise back up to your hands and knees and set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Find that rotation of elbow pits forward and push, letting the upper back expand. And then tuck toes under, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog pose. And always stay on hands and knees here if that is a better place for you. Take a full, big, deep breath. And then as you bend both knees, send your sitting bones further up, creating that lumbar curve. And then engage the low belly, lift the ribs up toward the back. And inhale, come forward into your plank pose and pause. As you pause here, you can always bring your knees down, take away a little bit of the work if you would like, that's okay, but rotate elbow pits forward and push. Engage the low belly and the ribs, extend the collarbones further forward, and even think of lifting the collarbones up. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Full big breath. And then walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take an inhale and lengthen part way, long spine. Exhale and fold over your legs. Hands to hips. Press back on hips, lift shoulders and elbows up toward the ceiling and rise all the way up to stand. And so now we're going to take a wide stance on our mats and we'll end up turning in both directions. You can, if you would like to, have blocks handy because we will add a little bit of triangle pose. So I do find triangle pose to be one of the best poses to help the low back to start to find a little release. So find feet wide and think about feet being approximately wrist distance apart, ankles wrist distance, approximately, depends on the length of your arms compared to your height and your legs. But now turn right foot out and bend into your right knee to find that warrior two position here. So your hips are still centered forward or to the side, depending on if you turn sideways, but your hips are centered. But your knee is turning open. Lift your chest. From here, hands behind to clasp. Finding that big opening through the front, little bit of a back bend. Engage through the core to support that back bend. So low belly and ribs draw in. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, settle just a little bit deeper. Inhale, straighten your front leg. Turn your feet toward the side or the front, depending on how you're facing, and then turn your left foot out. Bend into your left knee, and as you find that opening with the hips, lift your chest up, lift your heart up, and again, hands clasp. Press palms, hug elbows, big lift through your front, and collarbones lifting up, engage the core. One more big breath. And then work your front leg or your left leg towards straight. Turn your feet so that they're parallel. Hands to your hips now. Walk your hands toward your low back. Give a little bend to your knees and start to push your sitting bones back as you hinge at the hips and fold. Coming to the variation of forward fold that feels the best in your body. Inhale and lengthen part way. As you do so, you can always have your hands up on something here if you want. But root down through the pinky toe edges and lift through the arches. Sitting bones tilt up, and then exhale, fold as deeply as your body is ready for. First one of the day, so it might feel a little bit tighter. But again, this is another lovely pose to allow the low back a little bit of release. Bend your knees even more. Think about coming to a really wide-legged squat and tilt your sitting bones up. And now hands come to your hips. And with that squatting position, squeeze your glutes and rise all the way up. Okay, so now turn your right foot out again. And as you keep your front leg more towards straight now, if you are a hyperextender, you're gonna give it a little micro bend. But keep your leg more towards straight. Big toe mound is pushing down. Rock your right hip back. And as you do so, start to find that hip movement so that your heart can move toward the right side. Block or hand on your shin or on your thigh. Find where to set your right hand down to stay really long through your spine, not tilted down. Keep turning your knee more toward the pinky edge, big toe mound pushes down, and turn your chest more open. Now from this place, back thigh, think of rotating your inner thigh in, back, and broad. Might feel like your heel could turn out, but it won't because it's super well set. Take a big deep breath. And now engage the low belly, engage the ribs, and send your head back. Now inhale, rise all the way back up and turn your feet to parallel, then turn your left foot out. And again, legs towards straight. Don't have to be all the way straight, but as you push your left big toe mound down, turn your knee a little bit more toward the pinky edge, shift your hips back, and extend your heart toward the left. And again, you can have your hand on your shin, your thigh, a block, whatever you need to be able to be long through your spine and not tilted down. Turn your belly and heart open and focus on that back thigh. Find that rotation of your back thigh so your inner thigh is moving in, back, and broad. Turn your belly more up. Engage the low belly, the ribs, and send your head back. Inhale, rise all the way back up and turn your feet to parallel. And from this place, lift and spread your toes and then root through the pinky edge, lift the arches. Knees bent, hips start to push back. Think of sitting bones going back and up as you fold. And as you come to this fold, think of lifting sitting bones and then come to the place that's right for your body. So it might be a little bit more lifted, hands might be on something, or you might be setting elbows down or reaching back behind you, or maybe taking a hold of the outside edges of your legs. Big deep breath. And now inhale, hands come to the ground in front of you, and you might have them on a block or another prop here. But now we're going to take a wide stance down dog. So walk your hands forward as far as is comfortable. And then as you press, hips lift, keep a little bend to your knees, and try to tilt your sitting bones even more up. One more full, big, deep breath. And then walk your hands in, bring your hands up to your hips, a little bend to your knees, squeeze glutes, and rise. And then walk your feet in, feet inner hip distance apart and parallel, hands to your heart. And now close your eyes if it's comfortable, and take a full breath. Notice for yourself what's showing up in your body. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, bent knees to fold over your legs. As you inhale and lengthen, send sitting bones up and extend collarbones forward. Even think of lifting them up. Exhale and fold. And then walk your feet back, coming into your down dog. Take a full, big, deep breath. And push, hands and feet down. And now for a moment, lower knees down, hips to heels. Take your child's pose. And as you find your child's pose here, again, come back to that intention of inner peace. What does it mean to find some peace here? Let your breath become full and deep. Recognize the thoughts that might be happening. And bring your awareness back to your breath, watching it move in and out of your body. And now inhale, rise to your hands and knees, and we're going to come back down onto our bellies. So settling onto your belly. And with your hands right underneath your shoulders here, we'll do a little hovering if that's in your practice. You're always welcome to set the hands back down. But first, reach back with one leg at a time, and then root. Tops of feet, and then knees, and then engage the low belly. Engage the low ribs here by taking an exhale. And now, inhale, shoulders up and back, and lift hands up, lift legs up to hover. Exhale, lower back down to still hover. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, lower to a hover. Inhale, rise up, and lower to a hover. And as you keep going with your breath, slow the breath, notice the work, where it's going on in the body. And choose some peace around this work. And again, if it's right for your back to set your hands down through this, you're welcome to. But we have 3 more breaths. And then setting hands down, you can release your legs down. From here, if you want, you can always stack hands underneath your head. Bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs, giving that movement through the hips and the low back. And then coming back into center now. Push all the way back into a child's pose. One last child's pose for your practice. Take a couple big breaths. And then gently push yourself up to your seat, coming all the way down to sitting bones. And now we're going to make our way onto our backs and make sure that you have a prop handy. And it could be a block, it could be a pillow or bolster, but we'll take that Psoas stretch that we know and love. But first, lay all the way down, knees draw in, rock a little side to side. And then set footprints on the ground. And as you push through your feet, notice a little tilt of your pelvis where your sitting bones like to tilt up here. And instead, push through your feet and purposely tilt your sitting bones back down. And now, grab your prop wherever it happens to be and make sure it's close by, but we're going to take a bridge pose first. So keep that tilt down of sitting bones, and then take your fingers to your hip bones and start to engage the low belly without losing that tilt of your pelvis. Engage the ribs into the floor. And then inhale, lift your hips up. And as you lift your hips up, inevitably we lose some of that tilt that we just did. So tilt sitting bones down again, push through your feet and lift up with your hips. And now grab your prop and set your prop underneath your hips. Go ahead and let your hips rest down. And now if you'd like to add that extra stretch through the psoas, our legs are going to come out straight. So the psoas is that big hip flexor in the body that covers 17 vertebrae. And it goes into the inner thigh, underneath the belly muscles, inside the hip bones, up to the back low ribs. And as you take a couple big breaths here, just notice if there's any discomfort or difficulty in being here, and feel free to shift. Make adjustments with where your sacrum is, how the prop is. You can always reach your arms overhead, or you can always walk your feet in if that's better on your body. A couple big deep breaths. And then walk your feet back in, arms back by your sides, lift your hips up, and then slowly lower hips back to the ground. And from that place, walk feet wide and drop knees side to side, windshield wiper in here. Allowing for that movement through the lower part of the spine, through the hips, maybe a little quad stretch. And now as you come back into center, drop knees in together to touch. And then arms out to a cactus or a T, whichever feels the best. And just take a moment with your breath to send your breath into your back body, to allow your back body to expand and contract, allowing that little extra bit of contact with the ground. And with eyes closed, return to that intention of inviting inner peace. And then begin to set yourself up into your best resting pose. Find your Shavasana. And it might be staying right where you are or adding some more props. Might be coming to legs up the wall. Begin to let your body and your mind settle. And as your breath gets soft but full, you can invite this concept of inner peace. Bring awareness back to your breath. Gently add movement into fingers and into toes. And then as you're ready to bend your knees and roll over to your side. Mindfully press yourself back up to your seat using as little core strength as possible. And then connect hands together at heart center. And with your eyes closed, reset this intention to invite inner peace throughout your day. Simply pausing and taking a breath can be your tool. So take a full but soft breath here. Have a very peaceful, beautiful day. Namaste.